Nathan, 32, had been married to Ava, 33, for nearly 7 years. Their marriage had always been peaceful and stable, with no children by choice, something that suited them both. But recently, things had begun to shift. Ava had started expressing dissatisfaction with her life, claiming she felt stagnant and stuck in a routine. A few months ago, she even mentioned the idea of having a child to add some excitement to her life. Although they had agreed early on that children weren't part of their future, Nathan told her he was open to discussing it. However, after only a few conversations, Ava dismissed the idea entirely, calling it a passing thought. Nathan had assumed it was just a phase, not realizing it was the beginning of something far worse. Then one evening, Ava casually told Nathan she was going on a date. His first thought was that she was joking, but when her serious expression didn't change, the reality hit him. She explained that the date was with Eric, a colleague of hers. According to Ava, it was just a way for her to add some excitement to her life. Nathan was in shock. How could this be happening? Ava remained calm, almost indifferent, as she explained how she and Eric had bonded over feeling stuck in their own lives. She assured Nathan that it was just a casual dinner, nothing serious. When Nathan asked her why she called it a date, she responded coldly, saying it was about transparency. To her, being upfront made it less painful, but to Nathan, it only made things worse. Ava kissed him lightly on the forehead before walking off to get ready for her date. Nathan sat frozen on the couch, overwhelmed by a mix of rage, heartbreak, and disbelief. He watched her get dressed in her favorite scarlet dress, the one she always wore for special occasions. The realization hit him hard. She wasn't dressing for him, but for someone else. As she smiled to herself in the mirror, Nathan's world seemed to crumble around him. This wasn't the woman he had married, and she didn't seem to care. Feeling desperate for advice, Nathan called his best friend, Kevin. Though he didn't want to admit the truth, he framed it as a problem a colleague was going through. Kevin suggested it might be innocent, but deep down, Nathan knew it wasn't. This wasn't just a harmless dinner. It was betrayal. Ava returned home earlier than Nathan expected, around 9:30 p.m., wearing a strained smile. Her lipstick was smudged, and her eyes looked tired. She hugged him and whispered, "It was so exciting, Nathan. Just what I needed." Nathan felt a sharp pain in his chest. But then Ava dropped another bombshell. She and Eric were planning a weekend trip together. Nathan couldn't process it. He stood there numb, as Ava seemed completely oblivious to the devastation she was causing. That night, Nathan couldn't sleep. He replayed the events over and over in his mind, realizing the truth. His marriage was over. But if Ava thought she could walk away without consequences, she was wrong. Nathan had been loyal for 7 years, and this was how she repaid him. The more he thought about it, the more determined he became to make her regret her actions. He wouldn't beg her to stay or fight with her. Instead, he would make her feel the weight of her choices. By Saturday afternoon, Nathan had installed new locks on the house. Ava's key no longer worked. He packed all of her belongings into trash bags and moved them to the garage. That night, he silently watched as Ava packed her suitcase, excited for her trip with Eric. She hummed to herself, oblivious to the finality of what was happening. Nathan recorded her on his phone, capturing her careless boasting about how free and alive she felt. He knew this footage would be crucial in the divorce and to prevent her from twisting the narrative later on. On Saturday morning, Eric's car pulled into the driveway. Ava, dressed in yet another red dress, blew Nathan a kiss as she climbed into the car. Nathan didn't react. He simply watched them drive away, the final nail in the coffin of their marriage. When Ava returned on Sunday evening, she found herself locked out. Her key no longer worked, and she began pounding on the door, calling Nathan's name. From inside, Nathan watched her on the security camera, her desperation clear. Finally, he opened the door. Ava's tear-streaked face met his as she tried to push past him, but Nathan stood firm. He had warned her. Ava had always craved excitement, but now it was here, and it was far from the thrill she imagined. Her life, as she knew it, was over. She cried and begged, telling him she was sorry and blaming Eric for pressuring her. But none of it mattered. She had made her choice, and now it was time for her to face the consequences. He handed her the recording of her bragging about her plans for the weekend, and her face went pale as she realized she had been caught. "You destroyed us, Ava," he said coldly. "Now you'll navigate life alone." He pointed to the trash bags in the garage, telling her to leave. She pleaded with him, but he slammed the door in her face. For hours, she sat in the driveway, but he stayed firm. The divorce papers would be sent soon, and there was no turning back. The weeks after felt like living in the wreckage of a storm. The house, once full of noise and tension, was eerily quiet, but at least it was mine. Ava had wanted excitement. Well, she could have it, but not with me. After filing for divorce, I arranged for the papers to be sent to Ava's parents' house, the only stable place she had left. She had been staying with her childhood friend Julia, who probably had no idea about the chaos Ava had caused. Despite everything, Ava didn't just accept reality. She bombarded me with texts, calls, and voicemails. Each attempt grew more desperate, filled with pleas. Her mother even called me once, begging me to reconsider, but I knew there was no future for us. Only a deep wound remained, and I wanted it healed for good. Every time I saw her name on my phone, it wasn't just a reminder of her attempts to reach me. It dragged up memories I couldn't shake. The carefree laugh she had while packing for her weekend with Eric, her dismissive attitude when I begged her not to go, and her belief that our marriage was unbreakable. Those memories strengthened my resolve. Ava had betrayed me, and there was no path back. I wasn't surprised when she made her next move. One afternoon, while I was in my office busy with reports, I heard raised voices outside my door. My secretary was speaking, but Ava's frantic tone rose above it all. "Please, just let me talk to him," she begged. I stepped into the hallway and saw her standing there, holding the divorce papers. Her face was wet with tears, her hair disheveled. The confident woman I had known was gone, replaced by someone desperate and broken. My colleagues looked on uncomfortably as I led her into a private room. "What do you want, Ava?" I asked, my voice hard and cold. She held up the divorce papers, trembling, and said, "I can't sign these, Nathan. I love you. Please, let's talk. We can fix this." The woman before me was nothing like the one who had driven me to this point. All that was left in her was regret and sorrow, but I couldn't let myself feel sorry for her. "Not now. We have nothing to discuss," I replied firmly. "You made your choices. Now you have to live with them." Tears filled her eyes, and her voice cracked as she whispered, "It was a mistake. I thought it would be exciting, but it turned into a nightmare. I was stupid. I love you. You're the only person I've ever wanted." Anger boiled inside me as I fought to stay calm. "You thought you could play with fire and then come back as if nothing happened? You expect me to forget all of this?" I asked. She reached out for my hand, but I stepped back. "I've already given you my answer," I said, walking out of the room, ignoring the sobs that followed. For a while after that, Ava stopped trying to contact me. I heard she started therapy, perhaps the first real step she had taken toward change. But for me, it wasn't enough. I needed closure. I wanted her to truly understand the damage she had done. I spent days putting together a record of her affair with Eric, documenting every meeting, every moment she had tried to downplay. It wasn't just for potential evidence. It was a way to force her to see what she had done from my perspective. I sent it to her parents' house, and the next morning, Ava called me again, leaving a voicemail. "I got your package," she said, her voice shaking with guilt. "I understand now, Nathan. I know what I did to you. I know I can never undo that. I wanted excitement, but I destroyed the most important thing I had. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand." I listened to her message, a strange mixture of emotions washing over me. For the first time, she wasn't making excuses. She was acknowledging the hurt she had caused. And in that moment, I felt relief. She finally got it, and that was enough for me to begin healing. The divorce was finalized quietly a few weeks later. There were no dramatic scenes, no last-minute theatrics. Ava signed the papers without a fight and moved back in with her parents. I stayed in the house, my house now, with her name erased from every corner of it. At first, The silence was unsettling, but over time, I found peace in it. I wasn't coming home to pain or uncertainty anymore. I focused on myself again. I went to the gym, rediscovered my love for hiking, and even picked up painting again, a hobby I had abandoned long ago. Kevin, my best friend, was always there to encourage me when I felt like giving up. Ava made one final attempt to reach out, sending me a heartfelt letter apologizing again and telling me how she was working on herself. But I didn't respond. It was enough for me that she understood the depth of her betrayal. Her journey was hers to make, and it no longer intersected with mine. Months passed, and as the seasons changed, so did I. I wasn't the broken man I once was. I had grown stronger, wiser. I realized that no matter how devastating the fall, it was always possible to rise again. One day, during a hike with Kevin, I met a group of people, and among them was Emily. She was warm, easygoing, and had a smile that made me feel lighter. She joined us on the hike, and for the first time in what felt like ages, I found myself genuinely smiling. We talked, and soon after, I asked her out for coffee. It wasn't love at first sight, but it was real. Spending time with Emily reminded me of what love should be. Not grand gestures or dramatic fights, but consistency, respect, and kindness. It felt like a new beginning, one grounded in sincerity and mutual care. My story continues, but one thing is clear. Ava made her choices and paid the price. As for me, I chose to rebuild my life piece by piece. Whether Emily becomes my forever remains to be seen, but I know this. No matter what happens, I'm no longer the man I used to be.